Ladies and gentlemen, on Kari Lake's Twitter page, and also during her CPAC speech, she described a meeting, an encounter that she had last week where people tried to bribe her to get out of politics for the next 2 years. Now, this is being reported in the news. The Daily Caller has an article on this that Kari Lake retweeted, and other publications have also reported on this. Kari Lake alleges she was offered a bribe to sit out of politics for 2 years. This is a Daily Caller article. Then you have other articles that are trying to downplay it. Independent. Kari Lake spins tale of attempted bribery to drop out of politics. Now, if this was Stacey Abrams or John Ossoff before he eventually won, there's no way on earth they would have written a headline or a title of an article, John Ossoff spins tale of, wealthy people trying to get him out of politics. It would have been like, oh, wow, the Democrat was so principled. So I use Ossoff as an example because he ran numerous times. Kari Lake only ran once. But he ran numerous times, didn't win, and then eventually won. He had every single possible advantage from all of media on the local level, okay, within Georgia, and also, in terms of the media nationwide. Kari Lake does not have that. But the point is, and there's also a million other disadvantages when you talk about media and everything else, suppression of dialogue and speech. But this is interesting. She goes on to talk about how very wealthy people from the East Coast set up a meeting. So she writes, last week somebody came to her house and tried to buy Kari Lake out of politics, but Kari Lake can't be bought. Quote, there's no price that I would sell out my country for. This is very interesting, and this is actually how politics works, and this is how, really, it's how the Democratic Party especially works, but also Republicans are never Trump Republicans. She was offered a great deal of money, let's say $1 million. She didn't specify the dollar amount, but she said a great deal of money to be on the board. So Hunter, for example, is on the board of directors. When you're on the board of directors, oftentimes it can either be because you have tremendous expertise and you've accomplished a great deal, so you want to, you're on the board of directors of a Fortune 500 company because of your knowledge base and your success, and they want you on that board of directors to give input and advice and wisdom on how best to steer the company in the right direction, the corporation. Or you could be on the board of directors, like Hunter, simply as a way to funnel money and, to justify giving an enormous amount of money to somebody for a political purpose. So when Hunter and others around Joe Biden had all these business deals, one of the emails from the New York Post says, how can you use your influence on our company's behalf? And then they do business, and the influence, of course, is the vice president at the time, and then eventually the president, Joe Biden. Okay, it's not rocket science. You're forcing out a prosecutor. The prosecutor was about to go after a specific corporation that Hunter was on, and then they spun it to, well, the prosecutor wasn't doing his job. That's not the business of anyone within the United States of America. You don't go forcing out bureaucrats or lawyers or attorneys or prosecutors or officials in other countries because you don't think they're doing a good job. You think we could go to France or Germany and say, oh, we don't like that prosecutor. So anyway, and I'll have a live stream on this a little later today, ladies and gentlemen, probably around 5 p.m. I will have a live stream at about 5 p.m. Pacific time, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll have another video on Kari Lake in a couple of hours. hit subscribe, and to my super thanks, thank you. If you want to support my work long term, my Patreon is below. And go to hagoodman.com to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, and other publications. I'll either have a video on James Comer and impeachment, and I might do a live stream on Kari Lake tonight. That's what I think is going to happen. So it'll be about 5 p.m. Pacific time this evening. We'll have that live stream. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's what takes place. People are given money. So Kinzinger is writing a book, and he's on CNN. He's making a great deal of money turning on Trump. He was on the January committee. He's giving signed copies of, I think, I believe, the January committee report. Okay, so I believe, don't quote me on that. So that's a lot of money for somebody who voted over 90% of the time in Congress with Trump. Do you think Kari Lake would vote over 90% of the time with Trump? Yeah. Kari Lake, Liz Cheney, and Adam Kinzinger would have voted over 90% of the time in Congress. So if you go to 538, Tracking Congress in the Age of Trump, there is it's basically a score that people get, or percentage basically of what the resolutions or bills or executive orders or everything that the president voted for or against compared to what the congressperson voted for or against. When you look at Kinzinger, for example, Adam Kinzinger, he voted over 90% of the time alongside Donald Trump. And he's now on CNN. So how did that happen? It's called politics. It's very lucrative to be a never-Trumper, and it's very lucrative to be a Democrat. You can continually lose. Stacey Abrams has continually run and campaigned, and now is a part of political action committees, and I believe there are some campaign finance issues. But it's a very lucrative thing. You can ask AOC. She had political action committees and then corporations funneling money from back and forth to each other. And that was supposed to be a campaign finance violation. She's under ethics investigation now for the Met Gala. But being a politician is very lucrative. Kari Lake says, I'd rather just take the heat from media in Arizona and media nationally and, promote Trump's policies or the policies that work. We had record low poverty under Trump in 2019. End of story. There's no rebuttal to that. Oh, well, it was in 2019 going into his third year and then fourth year. In the beginning of 2020, we had the same unemployment rate we have now without the inflation, and real wages were up. And then Democrats and media and bureaucrats tanked the U.S. economy. So they did so. What they did was shut down economic activity. And now it's like most people just don't even realize, who is at fault? Who pushed for this? America has just moved on, and the media has turned a page. Well, we were wrong, okay. Of course, Democrats would still vote for that. Most Democrats would probably vote to shut down the economy again. But Kari Lake is against never-ending military conflict, just like Matt Gaetz and Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump, all the people who are reprehensible to the morally superior among us. Okay? You look at the atrocities taking place in the southern geographic region of our country, greater atrocities than anything that took place during Trump's administration. And there was one policy that I definitely vehemently opposed. Trump then reversed that policy. But you had Democrats focusing on that and not focusing on 50 people, 60 people, or 40 to 50 people losing their life in a truck last year. And then you have all of these atrocities taking place routinely. Not a word from AOC. I mean, it's just an example. Kari Lake wants to address these issues. And crime soaring and homelessness and all of these problems that Democrats don't ever address. They don't address them. You look at, they want legislation. Then they look at violence. They say, we need new laws. Criminals don't abide by laws. You can have a million different laws. Prohibition was a law. It didn't work. It didn't work. People have free will. And if they want to break the law, unfortunately, they'll break the law. And it's up to law-abiding citizens utilizing the Second Amendment, if they have to, God forbid, to protect themselves. Okay, you can look at blue states and blue cities run by Democrats. Some of them are on the top, the list, on top of the list in terms of the most heinous crimes. Okay, crime rates, all of that. But anyway, so laws do not, the laws curbing the Second Amendment do not protect citizens. This is obvious. You can look at the numbers and the stats, and you will see. But again, that's another story. They want the Never Trump Republicans possibly wanted to just keep her out of politics. Who knows? Who knows if it happened? But if it did happen, that's the way politics works. Politics is about, a whole lot of legal graft. That's what they used to call it in Tammany Hall. Legal graft. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'll be here in a couple of hours. Thank you.